to get that pitman arm located on the steering box on the car itself, I need to make a bracket, and this is my bracket. So this bracket, the hoop comes up, this will hang on the bracket, and depending on where the steering wheel and the steering box is located will determine where I'm going to drill my holes in this. Instead of copying this template exact the way it is, I need to kind of go fat on the bottom of it, because I'm going to end up having to clock the steering box and the column to make sure it's comfortable when I'm sitting in the car. So what I'll do is I'll rotate the steering box on the tube wherever it needs to go. Once I get that set in place, I'll clamp it to hold it tight, and then I'll get everything marked, get my holes marked where I need to drill them. I'll get them drilled. Once that's all set, I'll know exactly where this is going to go and then how big I need to make the mount for this. A lot of pieces to make sure that all of this is going to work the way it needs to work. Next step, get some template, get this template made, cut it out with a plasma cutter, get it cleaned up, get it on the hoop, get the steering box set, cut the length of the steering column, all types of stuff. So I'm gonna get to work. Sorry for the long intro, but that's what I got going on. Basic shape what I need. Took 5 minutes. Burnt my glove. Not awesome. Should have been wearing leather. Next thing I need to do is I need to obviously fine tune this. Next step is to get these holes drilled. That's going to be for the sector shaft. That's going to be for the roll bar hoop. After I get that done, probably going to run up to the other shop and sandblast this real quick just to clean it up, and then get it set on the hoop and go from there. I just need to get this hoop tacked in place so I can weight this bracket with the steering box. I'm going to cut the steering box a little bit longer than where I think it's going to be, but I need to be able to sit in the seat basically in the position I'm going to be in, get the weight on this bracket with the steering box, figure out where exactly it's going to go, and then get it tacked in place. Get this bracket tacked in place. So I'm gonna cut this tube here. I think it was 27, 28 inches, something like that. So I'm going to cut this off here, and that should give me enough room at least to sit in the car. I'm going to pull this outer tube off also, so I can slide the steering wheel over the shaft. Threw some metal in my jump share real quick, just 18 gauge sheet metal, and put one on the top and one on the bottom, just as a spacer to give myself an even space all the way around the bracket. I just threw some wood on top of this transmission for now. So my next step is to get the steering box put in this hole here and get it clamped in place, and then somehow get in the back of the car and get a rough idea of how I'm going to be sitting. But I have no way to hold the seat in place because I took the body off. It's just going to be a little bit of a process. I have not cut the length of the steering column down yet, because it's black paint and we wrote on it with a Sharpie, a black Sharpie. So I can't really see the measurement, the mark that we made. Kind of not sure where to cut it at this point, and I don't want to cut it too short. I think this is going to end up probably a little comical, but I'm going to do the best I can. I gave it a quick gasoline bath. So I need it to be centered on the transmission and the pinion, like that. Alright. Just cut some spacers with my jump shear. Let's see where that is now. 0.5. Oh boy. Of course it fell. Ugh. I think that's pretty close. Alright, what I need to do now is I need to need to tack this in place is what I should do. I need to get my pitman arm extension on, because what I need to do is I need to make sure my pitman arm extension is gonna clear the front edge of that tube, which I think it is. Probably gonna regret this. I don't even know it'll go on. Got about 3/8 of an inch, so I think the steering's gonna come up. Pretty sure that's got to come up. I think I'm going to have some adjustment after the fact. I'm only going to tack this in place, so I think I'll be able to maybe adjust it a little bit if need be. I'm going to tack this in place and then just check it. That's at 0.1. Straightness of it. I'm happy with that. Put my welding helmet on, I didn't even put the lid down. Jackass. Okay. Well, those spacers worked out pretty good. Happy with that. They're both moving, so that's good. My next step is to cut this steering column down, and then what I need to do is I need to then somehow get my butt in this seat with my steering wheel, which is right here. I'm going to remove this tube and just use the shaft. Put my angle finder on the shaft, figure out exactly the angle I need it to be at, and then hop out of the car, recreate it, and then reclamp the steering box to the mount. Yeah, it's just there's a lot to figure out. Like I said, it's gonna turn comical. Remember I said earlier, I've broken my pelvis and oh God, brutal, 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 brutal. This is where my legs are gonna be. All right, I think I'm happy right here. So I got my wheel. Okay, I think that's about it right there. Oh good, I got a little bit of flexibility. I feel like I need to go back. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just roll the car. I roll the car forward some. Alright, I got a little space there. So that this hole is about where my pinky's at, about the center line. So if I hold my pinky roughly where that steering shaft is, I'm happy with that. I need it to be behind my knees to make sure I have room to turn the wheel. And I can always move my seat back. So now, I forgot to grab my angle finder. So I'm going to see if I can get it without knocking over this house of cards. 10.6 degrees. So that's where we're at, 10.6 degrees. Now if I use that hub for the removable steering wheel, this tube will actually get cut down further because it slides over it. So the wheel will actually be, yeah, actually wait a minute. So we got the height okay. So now I need to figure out the length. So I think I'm going to cut off, probably going to end up being a couple of inches. It's a nice steering box. Alright, 10.5 degrees, that's the number. So now my next step is to trace everything out, figure out exactly where I need to drill the holes, then get my holes drilled. Once I get those holes drilled, I'll be able to get that welded in place, bolted to the steering box, welded in place, attach my pitman arm, build my drag link, and then figure out exactly where that pitman arm is going to be located. Alright, cool. Now I got to get out. Oh boy. See, I'm hoping with the roll bar or the roll cage on the dragster, I'll be able to pull myself out. But until that happens, it's a bit of a struggle. Be strong, little tacks. Please be strong. Oh God. I did it! I did it! Kind of hard to trace the holes, so I really can't do that. I'll do that after I cut things out. Alright. So I think I'm good enough. Instead of removing everything, I just used I use this for my welding rod, for my TIG welding rod. That's the base or the flange off of an F1 mount. So I just put that on top of my bracket, used some layout ink, sprayed it. I centered the holes where my holes need to be drilled, and now I'm just drilling holes. I need this mount sturdy enough right now so I can mount my pitman arm on, and I can figure out where I need to build the tab or put a piece of plate, so I can then start building the mount, figure out exactly where I need to machine down the outer diameter of the tube for my pitman arm, and kind of like just figure all that stuff out. So everything hinges on getting this mount set in place where it needs to be. And I'm getting close. I mean, it's on. I just don't know how far it's supposed to go on. I don't know that it's supposed to go all the way on to the plate. I'm not really sure. Maybe it doesn't. There's threads showing, and then there's also the spline showing. So maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's on as far as it's going to go. I don't want to send it home and then not be able to get it off. I'm going to spend a few minutes cleaning up the spline on the actual steering box. I've already done it on the pitman arm sleeve, and just for some peace of mind, knowing that if I put this thing on there, I'll hopefully be able to get it off of it. So one of the things that I need to do is I need to make sure that I have access for the nut, this nut and washer that's going to go inside here all the way at the end. In order to access that, I need a extension with a socket. I have the socket, but the outer diameter is too big to fit in that particular tube. So I have my lathe set up right now on the auto feed feature, which is really freaking cool. I don't use it as much as I should, but I'll show you here. Alright, so here's you can see my socket in the lathe. So here's my tool right here. When you set the depth of your tool, and then this lever right here on this particular lathe, you just flip it up. Now I believe that socket might be hardened. It probably is, so that's probably why it's taken the time it's taken to cut it. So I have my dimension that I need for the inner diameter of the tube, and that's what I need to create on this the outer diameter of this tooling. So still got a little ways to go, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. My battery's dying. I'm going to throw a new battery in the camera, and then I'm going to get that tube put on the pitman arm or the steering box, and then start setting up for the carrier bearing, where that's going to go, get a template made for the mount, and get that mount built, tacked in place on the tube. That's going to be the next step. That's going to be the next video. We'll see you guys next time on This Old Hot Rod. Appreciate it. See ya. Bye-bye.